I was 34 years old when I found myself looking at women the way I used to look at men before I got married. You know, in a sexual way. At first it was just random thoughts, like I'd see a woman walk across the room and think, she's hot. A little later, though, I started to have full-blown fantasies about what that woman and I could do together. It turned me on incredibly, but then I felt ashamed and scared that my whole life was about to collapse around me. That was when I decided to see a therapist. During my first visit, the therapist mostly listened, sometimes asking a few questions if she didn't understand something. I found myself telling her all sorts of things I never thought I'd tell anybody. I even asked her if I was a lesbian, but she said that labels weren't her thing. Before I left her office that first day, she asked me to think about my marriage and how I wanted to see things resolved. The next time I saw my therapist, I told her the truth, that I really love my husband, and what I feel for the women in my fantasies is mostly physical. We talked about my different options, like trying out my fantasies secretly to see if being with a woman turns me on in real life. I also thought about telling my husband. It might freak him out, but he might be really into it too. I wasn't sure which option would be worse. After another couple weeks in therapy, I decided I had to tell my husband the truth. The therapist and I practiced a lot of ways I might do that. Finally, I waited until the kids had gone to a movie, and I just told him I needed to talk to him. He asked me right off if I wanted a divorce. I said no, but then I started to cry, and I said I wasn't sure. And I told him, just like I had practiced with my therapist. After I got the words out, I was so scared and I started crying, but my husband just gave me a hug and said, "It's okay." We talked all evening and decided that one thing we were clear on was that we both wanted our marriage to survive. I still don't know whether I'm going to try being with a woman or not. My therapist and I are working on the pros and cons of that, but I do know that I can talk to my husband about whatever decision I make and that he will stick with me. It also helps that my therapist is so open to all the possibilities for me and doesn't think I'm perverse or awful. I really don't know how this is going to end, but I do know that the therapy is helping me think things through rather than just acting on impulse like I wanted to do a few months ago.